Hey guys, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be using Django to build a weather detector app. So it's just going to get the current weather situation in a particular city which a user search for. So right here, if I just search for London and I click enter, see it says London. It gives me the country code, the coordinates, the temperature, the pressure, and the humidity. So this is what we're going to be building in this video. So the template, which is this HTML file, and the source code, which is the final code to the final project, everything is going to be linked in the description below, so you can check the description to get the whole source code for the front end and the back end and everything you need. So having all this said, let's dive straight into the tutorial. So guys, before we get into this video, I want to tell you to go subscribe to my newsletter on my website. So once you subscribe, you're going to get my Python ebook for free, and then you can subscribe from this link. It's going to be in the description below. So having that said, let's get straight into this video. So guys, the first thing we need to do is to first of all create a new Django project. So we're going to create a new Django project now, and we're going to name it weather detector. So to do that, we have to say Django -admin start project, and then we're going to say weather detector, something like this. Then we just hit enter, and now this is going to create a new folder named weather detector in this directory. And that folder is going to contain the Django default boilerplate. So we can say cd. We're just going into that folder. Now we are in this folder. If I press dir, I'm going to see now that I have managers py and weather detector. So after doing this, we can just immediately create the Django app we're going to be using for this project. So I can say python manage.py start app, and then we just want to name this app weather, like this. Then you'll see that a new folder is going to be added named weather. So if I do this, now you see we have weather. Now we can import this project into Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to open up VS Code and then open folder. So I'm going to open up that folder in VS Code. So I have it in weather app, weather detector. So this should just go ahead and open my project right here. So let me just close this up. So what we are just going to do now is just go ahead with configuring our templates. So as I said in the introduction to this video, all the source code to everything we're going to be doing and the template file, I'm going to link it up in the description below, so you can get the template file, which is the HTML file, and the source code to the finished project. So if you are stuck anywhere, you can easily just check the source code. So we're just going to create a new folder in the root directory, and then we're going to name it templates. So now let me pop up my terminal, or let me just use my command prompt python managers.py run server. So what I'm doing now is that I'm running this project we just created on our localhost. So Django is going to run it on localhost port 8000. I'm just going to copy this, come up into my browser and paste it. Now you can see it's showing us that yeah, this installation works successfully. But we don't want to see this. What we want to see is our own HTML file, our own template. So let's go back to what we're doing. Right here in templates, we're just gonna get our HTML template which we want to use, and then we're gonna fix it into this template folder. So this template folder is just basically going to contain all the HTML files which we need, all our template files. So I have that my template file right here, which is index.html. I'll say it once again that this index.html file is going to be linked in the description below. So I'm just going to drag it and paste in template. So now we have that there. But you know that's not enough to tell Django that it should render that page. So we need to come into weather detector, which is our main project, and then in settings.py file, we're gonna scroll down to where we see template. Now we see template here. Then we're gonna look for dirs, where we see dirs. Right here, we'll say base dir slash template. So what templates? So what this is doing is that it's telling Django where to look for our HTML files. So anytime we request or want to render an HTML file, it's going to come into base directory slash template, which is basically this folder where we have our HTML file. So after doing this, let's just add the app we created, which is weather. Let's add it to our installed apps. Nice. So now we can save this. But again, this is not enough for Django to render that HTML page. So now we need to go to URL routing. So right here, you see that once we come to the home page, we have this default Django template. So we've told Django where to look for our template, but we've not told Django that when a user comes to our home page, what HTML template should he render. Now to do that, we need to use URL mapping or URL routing. So we're going to specify that once the user comes to this URL, which is our home page, it should render that index.html folder, which is right here. So right now, I'm just going to come into weather. So we need to create a new file named urls.py. And right here, in this urls.py is where our URLs is going to be stored. So say from django.urls import path. So we're importing path, which is going to allow us to specify different URLs, and they'll say from .views. Now from here, import views. So we're also importing views. I'm going to explain why we need this in a second. Now what we need to do is to have a new list named URL patterns. Now it should be equals to path, and then we'll say views dot index, and then we'll say name should be equals to index. Now what we're doing right here is we're importing path from Django URLs. So it's a default Django function which allows us to specify different paths. Right here you can see where we use it. So this from dot import views is basically this file. So we're importing every function which we have in this file, every class, anything we have in this file, we're importing it into this urls.py. So now when we specify a new, this URL pattern is a list variable which is going to take a list of all the old URLs we're going to have on this our site. So the first URL which I specified is the home page. That's why it's blank. If I want to specify, let's say slash sign up, it will be something like, let's say register. This is how I'm gonna do it. I can just leave it blank like just register, or if it's login, I can do exactly the same thing, something like this. But since it's the home page, I can just leave it blank. Now Django knows we're talking about this page, the home page. Now when I say views.index, what I mean is from this views.py file which we imported, go to the index function. Now the index function is where we're going to tell Django what HTML template or whatever we want to do, which we want to render. Now this name is just basically the name given to this particular URL. So whenever we want to request for the URL or go to that URL, we use this name. Now we can just save this. And now we know that we don't have any function named index in views.py. We need to do that. Head over here. Now we create a new function and we can just easily name it index. So this index wants you to take a request. So we're just going to say return render and then request and then index.html. So this is requesting for index.html in template folder. Nice. Now we can save this. But if we come right here and hit refresh, it still doesn't work. Now the reason why this doesn't work is because we configured all these URLs only in our app. We also still need to configure it in our main project for Django to know what we are doing. So we come to weather detector, which is the main project folder. In there, we go to urls.py, and then we scroll down where we import path. We also want to import include. Then after importing include, in the URL patterns, which is here already, we didn't write this, is there already. We can just say path, and then we'll say include weather.urls. Now what this is doing is that we're creating another home URL, but now in the urls.py file of the main project. And then once the user comes to this home, it should include weather.urls. That means weather is this app which we created right here, and then you should go to the urls.py file of it, and then anything we do to the same path is what should be done here. It's just including the URLs. So if I come here, you see we have that same blank path. So anything we do here, and what we're doing here is taking views.index, and what are we doing in views.index? Rendering this index.html. So now when we come back here and just hit refresh, now you see that we have this HTML page. So for now, you can see all these are just dummy data, country code, coordinate. So what we want to do now is that we want the user to be able to search for something like London. When the user hits enter, we want to show the current weather details or weather status in that particular city. So we're just gonna come back to VS Code. So right here in the index, now I'm going to come into template and in index. So right here, I'm going to scroll down. So what we want to do now, if we scroll up, you're going to see that in this index we have a form already. Now this form is using a post method. The first thing we need to do, this form is basically this input, this search bar which we have here. So this form is a post form. As you can see, it's using a post method. In Django, anytime we're using a post method, we always want to make sure to add CSRF token. Something like this. Underscore token. Now once I save this and I come and search London, it gives us this error. Now because I've not refreshed the page, you still have that error, but take a look at the error. You see it says forbidden. If I go back and hit refresh, now I've loaded the new one and I search London again, you see now that I don't have any error. Nothing is working yet, but we've bypassed that error, which is good. So what I want to do now is to basically just send this detail, this input right here is this input which we see, input type text, name, city, and then once the user click on submit, it should send this detail to this view, back to this index.html view. It's still, we're just sending it back to this page, but this time around we want to be able to get some data, some things. So this is easy for us to do. What we just need to do is just specify the data which we're sending back. So right now, right here, what we're just gonna simply do is we come here, we make sure that we set an action, and the action should be blank. Now the reason why this action is blank is because when we hit some search, it's sending all the data, which is only one actually, it's sending this London data back to this home page. But this time around, we want to have something here. Instead of country code coordinate, we want to have the real country code, which should be London or UK or something like that. And then later, we're also going to remove this so that when a user first comes to the site, when a user first comes to the site, this shouldn't be there. Only search. We're going to do all those also. So after adding the action, and then we're able to send. Now what we just need to do is to come into our views.py file and then collect that. So For us to collect the data in which we sent, we'll say if request.method is equals to post. Then we want to say city should be equals to request dot post city. Now what are we doing right here? When I come to this page from the normal URL bar, I'm using a get method to access this page. But now when I send a form using a post method, I'm now sending a form to this page. The method is different. As you can see now, is a post method. That's why we're going to say if request.method is post. Now, the only time we're going to use post is when we're sending a form. So we're going to get if the method is post. That means obviously the program should know that, okay, a form is coming. Then once we know a form is coming, we just need to collect that form, say request.post city. Now, this city is this index, this input right here. You can see it has a name of city. If I change this to place, then I also need to come here and change this to place. But for now, let's still go with city. So let me make this big again. Let's just go with city and then city. So I hope you understood what we did right there. So we're just gonna save this, and then let me just first of all, after sending the city to this place, let me just pass it back to the HTML just to make sure we know what we're doing. So we can do something like this, city. So we're just gonna save, and then if I come here, so it says local variable city referred before assignment. Now this unbound local error always happens anytime you are using an if statement and there is a variable being assigned without adding an else statement. Now we just need to do else city should be equals to blank. And once I save this and come back and hit refresh, we don't have that error again. So anytime you come across that error in Django, it's always very common. You can simply use that to take care of that. So right here where we have country code, let's just say H1, and then let's say city. So right now if I refresh this page and I hit London, now you see it gives me back London. So that's just for us to verify that, okay, yeah, we are really passing a data value from our page back to our page, as I explained earlier, using different method, using a post method this time around. But now obviously we don't just want to see London. All we want to see is the country code, which is not really relevant, but I think it's still okay if we can get that, the coordinates, the temperature, pressure and humidity. So weather, status and details of that current city which we search for. So for this, we're going to be using an API which is called Open Weather Map. So it's a website which has an API for you to use, so you can get those details from their website. But before you can use their API, you have to sign up to their site and then get an API. It's totally free. Just sign up, you go to your account and get an API. And I'm going to show you how to use their API. So first of all, you need to come to their site, which is openweathermaps.org. And then once you log in, you can just come to API keys right here, and then you're going to see your own key. Now you can, this is free since we're just using for testing purposes. This is totally free. You don't need to buy a subscription or anything like that. Nope. So we're going to be using this API key to do what we want to do. So I'm going to show you how to use their API, get the details of any city we search. If we search London, if we search Accra, if we search Cape Town, if we search Delhi, Mumbai, anywhere, we can get the current weather situation right there, right here from our Python program or our Django site. So that's gonna be all for this video, and then we're gonna finish up this project in the next video. So stay tuned to the channel, and it's gonna be out in like a couple of days or so. Thank you for watching.